the first thing is, please, go ahead and please tell me about yourself and the franchise that you have, and what you do.
Okay. So my name is Chris Mayer, and I've been a franchise owner now for just over a year. We started in January 2018. We operate in West Palm Beach, Florida. I own a couple territories down here in the south East Coast. And I'm probably like a lot of people who thought about pursuing a second career and have gone into franchises where I got to a point where we had some events in my corporate life that led me for an opportunity to kind of look at something that my wife and I have been talking about, which is taking our career in a different direction. With the kids out, and we traveled a lot, we lived in a lot of different places, but we really wanted to settle down. And so we, and we'll talk a little bit about it, but we ended up with ArcPoint. We've been doing great in the first year. And I think I attribute a lot of that to, the business you go into, location, and your preparation. But we've been really happy with what we've done so far.
That's awesome. So now that you've been in this business for 14 months, what traits do you think someone needs to be successful in the ArcPoint Labs franchise system?
My experience, if you go by the 80-20 rule, 80% of it is going to be what you bring to the business. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit. ArcPoint is one that if you're looking for a franchise model where everything is given to you and everything's cookie cutter, that's not the business that I'm in, and that's not the business I wanted. I wanted to be able to run a business and have the freedom to kind of develop it the way I wanted to do it.
Right.
So 80% of that's there, but the majority of what will drive success is, I think, probably about four things. Number one is having a good business plan. So going into it, you know what you're getting into, but building a solid plan of how you're going to launch your business, setting the right expectations to yourself around time to revenue, around your paths to revenue, how long that's going to take, knowing the variables and the assumptions that go into it. That's really key. And if I was to do any of that better, I would have spent more time to really get that. I figured it out early enough that I had to adjust my plan once I started, but I kind of went into it not with doing all that homework up front that, I had to adjust later on and reset some expectations. So I think the plan is number one. The second is going in with an attitude of, like you probably did early in your career, it's going to be hard work. It's a lot of sweat equity. You're going to put a lot of time into it. You're going to turn around and say, okay, and then you're talking to yourself.
Right.
So you gotta do it. You got to figure it out, and you kind of got to get humble. You have to put some of the, depending on your experience, if you're, a big corporate exec, you kind of got to humble yourself, and you're gonna get in there and work as hard as you did when you started your career. And then I think maybe the third thing is, don't lose faith in what you're doing. When you open up and the phones aren't ringing and you don't have customers in, that's okay, because that's how it all starts. But sticking with your plan, working your plan, developing yourself, having the faith and the confidence that you're getting what you're doing, and that you're going to execute well and you're going to drive success. So those are things just around attitude. And I think for ArcPoint, the other thing I would say is, you have to be willing to take some chances and be open to challenges. You're going to be in a space that for a lot of us is a new industry, and you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to grow. And so again, if you're looking for all the answers, I think it's easier in other places. But if you're looking to grow a business where you're developing with your own freedoms around a proven solution set, where you're really adding value to customers and have an opportunity to shape a lot of lives in important ways that I think that we do, it's a great business.
Awesome. Now that was actually Quite a different answer than I've gotten from most people, but that was awesome. I really appreciate that. And you kind of touched on this just now, but what is the one thing you wish you knew before you got started?
Yeah, I think it's really on that planning side. So, there's like the things you know, the things you don't know, and then the dangerous ones, the things you don't know that you don't know.
Right.
So, I think the two parts to that are, doing your due diligence up front, making sure that you've got a good plan, and test your plan before you get too far into it. Get some trusted advisors, some people who are in the business, talk to the franchise group. Make sure your assumptions are right. Make sure that the way you want to execute makes sense from those that have done it before. And then I think, share that with your family if it's a family business. Making sure everybody's on board. If you're expecting to break even in 10 months, and the reality is you're probably going to do it in a year and a half, that's an important family understanding you need to have. But I think that's the part that I probably should put more time into it. But you figure that out pretty quickly, that you need to make that adjustment, and
Right.
you do.
Okay. So what made you pick ArcPoint Labs over, the other franchises that you looked at with your franchise broker?
So I think two things leaped out at me that were different that I liked about this. One is the space that it operates in, and which is two areas. There's the drug testing component, which has been around for a long time.
Right.
And unfortunately, it will continue to be around for a long time. But the bar of that is so low in terms of the experience. And so what I saw ArcPoint doing, and what I really see and what we strive to do here, is there's so much better you can do to create a service around drug testing and drug programs, pre-employment programs with employers,
Mm-hmm.
that we can provide an experience and a support level that's so much faster, that leverages technology, that drives productivity, that gives protocols that are really relevant to what's going on in the industry today, providing more education and consultative support. So there's a lot that you could transform, I think, in that space. So I like that. The second thing is around clinical. In healthcare now, technology is changing so fast. The cost of care, the cost of getting information is going down. So I really think there's a convergence of technology, cost, and people wanting more information, empowering themselves with health. That again, it fits really nice. So those were two things that stuck out to me. Multiple revenue streams. We have about 7 revenue streams that contribute today. Drug testing and clinical being the two biggest, but DNA is also very big, background screening, fingerprinting, physicals, and occupational health to some degree. So you're not just dependent on one particular line of business. And then the last thing is it's really a nice fit for me because I wanted to be challenged. I wanted to get in something that was new. I wanted to be a very active participant. I didn't want to be a passive owner. And I really feel like I can create something here that's challenging me every day. So that's why I choose it.
So what do you think is the biggest challenge that you came across when you started up your new franchise with ArcPoint Labs?
Well, I think we talked a little bit about some of it, but beyond that, the biggest challenges are, I think part of it is knowing where to go for help. Mm-hmm. You got a plan, right? So you have a business you've bought into, you have a plan. But I think, sometimes you can get out there and feel like an island. To me, I think the best advice is making sure you build a network, get a mentor network, connect with other owners that have been out there. Look at those that are doing it well. That have been doing it for a while, that have, great numbers, and are kind of, leading in their areas for the services they provide. Build those mentor networks. I think that's a key point that helps. I think the other challenge for a new owner coming into a franchise is knowing your priorities. At the end of the day, the most valuable asset you have is yourself.
Right.
And if you're spending your day answering the phones and faxing paperwork and running the back office, you're doing yourself a disservice. Your priorities, knowing what you have to do, because you have an infinite list of things.
Right.
You have, as you know, you have more things than you could ever do.
Right.
So critical things that you have to do, and some of it you're never going to get to. Some of it you got to give to your staff. But being very focused on those priorities, and I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. And maybe you don't get to where you want to go as fast as you want to get, or you're not getting the satisfaction you're looking to get. At the end of the day, again, to me, I think the success factors or the biggest challenges tend to be what we either lack in the skill, so knowing where to get help, or to make sure that we're being disciplined enough around the things that have to get done, that we prioritize those things right. To me, those are the bigger things.
No, those are great. That makes a ton of sense, and that's something that I've kind of seen consistent is, people are always saying that it's always finding the network, finding, the right people that you're going to need to talk to, and knowing who those people are, because you don't want to have to find them when you're in a crunch and, there's a crisis. It's better to have them up front and, know who you need to go to and all of that. So, well, Chris, that's all I have.